Okay, so real fast, before we get started, let's talk about the good just immediately. Did your friend also work on this episode?
Yes.
So immediately knowing that, I just want to talk about the good side of this, which is actually what your friend worked on. All the effects were top notch, looked great. Really,
They
really loved
worked
the
on
effects in the show.
two sequences they worked on VFX wise here were the beginning. It's interesting to know sort of how Disney seemed to have divvied up the visual effects between different companies.
Hmm.
So they worked on for the entire show. They worked on the Moss Isley outside the Pikes
Hmm.
base, and they worked on the mod guys' scalpel and tools. So in this episode, they worked on that brief bit of Cad Bane walking past, and I'm like, how did you keep Cad Bane being in this show a secret? and and then they also worked on the post credit scene.
Yeah, I have no fucking idea how you don't tell people, oh yeah, I'm involved with bringing this character on.
Mm.
Like, I definitely think that is something that a Kneale would not be good at if I was in show business. Like,
Oh no,
I know for a
I don't.
fact I would have messaged you by now and been like, dude, you have no idea what they're doing in this fucking show. Like, I would have kept it very private, but
They
I
could
would have
they couldn't
slipped
even
up.
they couldn't have even said they were working on this show. They couldn't even say it was anything for Disney. That's how tight this was.
Wait, they couldn't even
I had a
say they were
suspicion. I had
working
a
for
suspicion it was
Disney?
Disney. But no, because they work for a different studio that was sublet. Like Disney hired them to do these effects.
Hmm. Which, by the way, I hope everybody is enjoying the Fortnite version
Mm.
of frickin' Boba on your screen right now. I ran out of shit. I was still using posters and stuff. We decided we wanted Cat in this one, so we put Cat in it. This is how we do that. I hope it looks okay. um, but yeah, no, I like the visuals of the show in general have always been top notch. The like
Mm.
background design and shit like that. The creatures 100% have been a highlight.
Yeah, Little Trejo was great this episode.
That's his canon name for me.
Yeah.
They never named him, so he's Little Trejo for the end of time. Danny Trejo didn't pop back up. That pissed me off a
Uh,
little. I
had
mean,
had they gone back and done the fight at the palace rather than in the town, I'm sure we would have seen him.
I'm just saying it would have been neat if you just see one of those guys get impaled by that staff thing he's carrying.
Mm.
That's a cool weapon. It would have been cool.
Yeah.
Plus, where was he when the Rancor fucking rowdied up? We need the Rancor Wrangler. Danny
Still at the
Trejo the
palace.
Big. You know, ironic is Danny Trejo is technically the Little Trejo in that situation.
Yeah, that's why it's funny.
I mean, it's funny. I just like the idea of this giant thing that we just baby and cradle, and his name is Little Trejo. That's all I need. uh, so this episode, first of all, because my brain is stupid, and I do want to talk about this real fast before we get into everything. I haven't even said it's Disney Plus Pals yet. Um, which it is. It is Disney Plus Pals. Welcome. I am Kneale. This is Jack. But real fast, if anyone out there is watching, some big stuff happened recently outside of the realm of Star Wars. And I'm not talking about all those Marvel interviews that are happening right now,
Yeah.
although all of them fascinating. Um, it is with me. I have actually started a second channel, which is something I didn't think I'd ever do, but I'm excited for it nonetheless. Which is called Twin Outcasts, which I'm doing with my buddy Kyle, where we do vlogs and sketch comedy stuff. Pretty much all the stuff I said was coming on here, we're instead going to put over there. Because you'll find when two people work very hard on content, they can't really decide which channel to put it on, so we decided to make our own. So please check out Kyle's personal channel and the new one. Stuff is coming out for that. We're filming stuff this week, so be excited. We even talked about doing a thing where Kyle looks at all the designs of Pokemon because he's never seen them before, and I just go, which one's your favorite?
There was a Markiplier video that came out today that was just smash or pass. It was just him going through the entire Pokedex, just saying smash or pass.
My friend sent me that, and I haven't watched it yet. I think I watched the beginning.
I expected it to just be a loop of him just saying pass and just be that for the entire thing, but no, he actually goes through and you just see the confusion on his face at many of the later designs.
I remember him saying yes to Diglett. I remember that being a thing.
Oh.
And if you say yes to Diglett, you gotta say yes to Doug Trio, because that's literally just Diglett again, but like 3. And I'm okay with that. But yeah, so if you guys want to find out what will eventually be Kyle's favorite Pokemon, because legit, he doesn't know shit. Like, he knows Pikachu, and I think legitimately that might be it. He might not even know who Meowth or Jigglypuff are.
I love that you go to Meowth or Jigglypuff before, like, Charmander, Charizard.
Here's the thing, if you haven't played the games, though, the Pokemon you know, just the most famous ones are the ones from the show and Smash Bros.
Fair.
Like, he might know who Lucario is. He just might not know he's a Pokemon. But yeah, with that, this episode was delayed on filming, because we had things we had to do. This episode that we're filming right now, life stuff. So I'm sure people are clamoring. This is the big finale after that great episode 6. This episode was hot garbage, and I really want to shit on it, and I'm finally happy I get to. When I watched the first episode just for enjoyment, I was like, alright, that's okay. A lot of stuff I didn't like, but that's okay. Rewatched it critically. It's awful. It's terrible. It was still entertaining, but I hated this episode. It's not like Captain Marvel levels, but you'll remember that I said if Cad dies in an episode, I'm giving it below a 5. All I'll say is I'm keeping my promise.
No.
Untested, I can keep my promise. I would have... If Cad had lived at the end... I will go ahead and say Cad dying is probably the biggest detract for that, for me. But I will say, even if Cad didn't die, I would have had issues with this episode. I just
okay, because I'm gonna say, you've already said you're sticking to your guns with this. I'm guessing you avoided all the YouTube videos and everything on how Cad Bane is still alive, then.
Guys, he's not alive. Come on. There's no... If they do that shit with Cad and Kingpin... Here's the thing. I can't even say I'm super mad about that shit. Because legitimately, I'm like, if Cad was just alive and they said they were going to use that makeup again, and he was going to be in more shit, I'd be okay with that. Because I want that. But it's so stupid that they keep doing these fucking fake-out deaths in the introductions of these characters.
Yeah, I think this was done better. If it was their deaths, this was still done better than Kingpin. If it's not their deaths, this was still done better than Kingpin. The specific scene, the specific death scene, anyway.
I think if this was Cad's death, it's done better than Kingpin, just because if Kingpin would have died in that scene, it literally would have been, hello, I'm Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. I'm gonna steal the show for this episode. Bye. And then we never see him again. Meanwhile, while that still kind of happened here, the Star Wars like Clone Wars is still technically canon to this. So you can go back and watch Clone Wars and be okay.
Yeah.
Daredevil, while it seems that they're taking stuff from that show, you know what I mean. This was the first time it was like, yes, he's there. There's another established Marvel character there that Kingpin gets to interact with, and he might be dead. So, if Cad is actually dead, which I'm just gonna go ahead and say I think he is.
I'm leaning that way. I hope he's not. It's like, yeah, okay, yes, his heart monitor is blinking. Is that sending out a message to someone? Because it wasn't blinking until he got stabbed. Is that
Yeah,
just him dying? Is
I
that what?
was going to forgive this episode quite a bit because I actually thought at the end in the BAFTA tank, Cad was going to
Yeah,
be in it.
yeah, same.
And then, like, I didn't see Cobb Vanth at first, so I actually got excited of this, like, theoretical cybernetic Cad Bane that they had
I mean, he kind of already is.
Yeah, but imagine him more cybernetic. Like, imagine one of his fucking eyes is, like, cybernetic and shit.
That's the if he survives this, and again, total fanfic here, I think he will be. Because I mean, last time, okay, there was Bad Batch. Ignoring Bad Batch, last time we saw him, and it's confirmed canon now, is that,
He got shot in the head.
Unfinished animation where he gets shot in the fucking head.
I would
Shot in the head
like
versus
that,
stabbed in the center of his chest. I feel like he can survive that.
I think he went for
He's got the track record.
I would like him to survive it. I'm honestly kind of wondering how he did survive a shot to the head, now that I'm actually thinking about that. We never got that answer, and I really thought we would. But here's the thing. While I believe that he could survive this, if I'm treating the show as its own narrative, the narrative wants me to think he's dead. So yes. I'm going to judge the show as if he's dead. I didn't do that with Hawkeye, because Hawkeye is my precious baby boy, and I want to take care of him. But if I'm being real, 100% the show's like, no, this character is dead. We're done. You saw the death scene. At least with Hawkeye, they had the good conscience to cut away from the kill. Like, we can imagine a cacophony of things that happened there where Kingpin still lived. No, we saw the stab, we saw him lay down, we saw him die, we saw his body on the ground go limp. It feels like Cad's fucking dead. And it really fucking sucks because he just got here.
If I can go off on that, if this had happened at the end of Book of Boba Fett Season 2, I wouldn't have that much of a problem with it. That scene, to take this exact scene and put it at the end of the next season, if there's another season, I wouldn't have any problem.
The other thing, if he would have been in this season throughout.
Yeah, if we just get more of him, / had gotten more of him. We see him stabbed, we see him go limp thing, yeah. This is one of those things that is like, maybe I'm just a coward, but it is 100% what I would do in any of these situations. In a movie when there's a fight, and okay, granted most of the time it probably wouldn't work. Someone's getting choked out, someone's getting stabbed or something here. And they always keep on fighting. It's like, no, play dead, go limp. Let them think you're dead and leave.
The thing I'll say to that is, while I agree with that, I think that's a thing. If they are going to play dead or some shit, you gotta let the audience in on it. Because right now, I am just...
We get a panning shot over him lying there with his heart monitor blinking.
So when the camera cut, he was not...
Again, we're assuming it's a heart monitor. We don't know exactly what piece of tech is, but it's acting differently than it was throughout the entire rest of the time we've seen him.
Okay, so just so I'm sure, this theoretical heart monitor that's beeping, it goes to the very end of the scene and it doesn't stop?
I believe so. There's the moment where Boba stabs him. Let me jump to that point in the episode. So we have the ship fight. Cad gets knocked on the ground.
This is how we study things, chat. This is how we study. We do it live, fuckers.
Yep. Boba stabs him. It starts blinking. Cad stops fighting. His arms drop. It's still blinking. Cut to Boba.
Okay.
Cad lying there, side on.
This is a good walk.
Cut back to Boba. Close up on Boba. Another shot of Cad lying there, and you can't see it. Then a pan over Cad's body, and it's still blinking.
So it ends with it still blinking.
It ends with it still blinking.
Okay.
I am firmly on the If he's dead here, that's a shame, but it wasn't a bad way for him to go out. But I don't think he's dead. He's again, man has survived much worse.
Okay, let's say he's not dead. Let's go in for a minute and say he's not dead. If he's not dead, why the fuck do this now? Why the fuck do you want us to think he's dead after one fucking episode? Because here's the thing. While I agree with you, there's a chance here he's not dead. Plenty of room to retcon. We can say what that noise was. Plenty of room to retcon.
Maul was sliced in half, you know?
Yeah. Plenty of room. We could bring this character back again, theoretically. Quit doing the fake-out deaths! It's just pissing us off!
I think it just sucks that we got these two shows back to back.
I feel like even if we didn't, I would be saying they pulled a Hawkeye. Like, I do think I'd be
absolutely.
Because these are very comparable. I will go ahead and say that I think Vincent D'Onofrio being dead and Kingpin being out altogether is a much bigger sin, because once again, that's the first thing he was ever in.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, like, I love Cad before going into this. Like, I would have loved to seen a situation where my whole dream was Cad himself was gonna kind of get some power, and then it was gonna be like War of the Bounty Hunters in season 2. Because I really thought in my head that Cad is kind of the perfect villain for Boba right now. Because whereas Boba is kind of like, I know they brought up Cobb Vanth in this, but Boba is kind of like a sheriff in these shows, where he's going around, he's pushing like what he thinks is right, he's taking sides, he's treating people with respect. You know, the classic like hero sheriff from those older movies. And meanwhile, fucking Cad Bane is the complete opposite of that. Where he is, like, in it for himself and only himself. He is still a bounty hunter and will refer to himself as such. It really feels like these two are, like, antimatter and matter. It feels like, to a degree right now, they are opposites with so much history and similarities. It really feels like this asshole should have been the main villain of everything but Boba Fett in it. And instead, he's the one-off mini-boss. Like, he wasn't even a boss battle.
I'm loving that I just realized this comparison for my Attack on Titan fans and watchers. Anyone come over from my channel or anything. It's Levi and Kenny. And Kenny has a cowboy hat too. Oh my god.
I don't know who those characters are, but I assume they're opposites.
You've got your badass with a dark backstory and everything in the underground, being like a mercenary and whatnot, who's then becomes one of the good guys and doing his thing, gets a position of power and everything. But this guy who wasn't his dad, but raised him and taught him some stuff. Who's a proper serial killer. He's the Jack the Ripper of that show. And he has a cowboy hat. And they have a face-off. I wish we got more of Kenny. No. We do get more of him from when you think that we're not going to see him again. We see him again. But yeah, no spoilers. No spoilers.
What's neat about that? You brought up their age. When they were talking, and they actually like mentioned like, "You're old. You're older," and that shit.
I think Cad says like, "You've gotten soft in your old age." It's like, motherfucker, how old are you right now?
Well, he is an alien.
Yeah,
so we don't know.
He's a Duros. We don't know their lifespan like 100%. I'm sure Wikipedia has some guess.
I'm sure there's
Bad Batch and everything was at the start. Bad Batch was at the start of the Empire. Empire was around for less than 30 years, but more than 25. Otherwise, you'd just say 25.
This fucker rivals Rex for like around time. Like obviously Yoda kind of wins because
Yoda wins. Rex would have been made. Is it around episode 1? Start of episode 1?
Episode 2, I believe, because he's.
Well, that's when he shows up. They'd be commissioned and they age at double the speed.
I mean,
at the rate that Anakin ages, roughly episode 1.
He made it to the
Cad
fall of the
throughout Clone
Empire.
Wars is like a grown dude in Clone Wars.
I'm just saying, if
And he
Rex
worked he
wanted
worked he
to,
worked with he worked with Django and everything beforehand.
if Rex wanted to, he theoretically could have showed up in Rogue One as
Yeah.
well. I'm going just by
I mean
how many
Hera and Chopper were there.
The thing I'm doing with my head is I'm wondering how many movies this character could have been in if he was in the movies. Like, technically,
Original trilogy episode yeah.
he doesn't
All
make
of
it to the High
them.
Republic era or anything like Yoda does, but he can make it for all the movies except for the sequel trilogy now.
Yeah.
It also sucks because, like, here's another thing I don't like about killing the characters. And you brought it up last time where you were like, okay, well, this isn't the end of Cad. We're going to see him again. And I feel like that's true. I feel like he's going to be in Bad Batch again. The problem I still face is now we have a canon timeline for Cad Bane. Meaning, once we reach a certain point where we're not doing shit in that area of the canon anymore, Cad vanishes. And it sucks because people are like, well, yeah, but if you do it this way, when you do things in those areas, maybe you can expect Cad to show up. And in my head, I'm like, fuck you, that could happen either way. If he's alive during the era, like, I just don't understand why. I can't see the story reason why to kill Cad, is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
they should have just kept him around and used him whenever they
As
needed him.
something Boba can overcome.
Well,
It's the whole thing. Yeah, like you said, it's like, oh, this is my last lesson. So it's like, yeah, he wasn't a father figure to him or anything properly. It was I trained him a little bit, did a wee bit of schooling on being a bounty hunter, surviving out there yourself.
honestly, you know what would have been fucking neat?
I mean, Cad still beats him in the gunfight. Cad still is faster on the draw than him, even now.
Honestly, now I'm imagining a different version of the show where instead of trying to make the Pikes the like big bad guy, because the Pikes are the ones who killed the Sand People, they did it with. I'm just saying, there's a version of the show where instead of flashing back to the Sand People time of his life, we actually flash back to him as a kid being raised by Bosk. And then it could be revealed that maybe Boba Fett and Bosk reunited after what happened in the pit, and Cad killed him, like Cad killed Bosk, because we haven't seen Bosk in a while.
Yeah.
So I think it would have been neat and made Cad more of a villain if we have this relationship set up between Boba and Bosk. They really are doing the friendship kind of father-son thing. Episode 5 comes out, Cad killed his ass. And that's the reveal of Cad Bane.
Yeah, I think there's definitely an alternate version of that show, but I think that would be such a fundamentally different show. Because for the climax, you still need an army for the rest of Boba's underlings to fight. So if you're doing that story, you don't have any of his underlings. You don't have Crescenta, and you don't have the mods. You'd need to do a completely different story. It might debatably be a better story.
Honestly, I disagree. You could literally keep all of the modern day stuff and only change the flashbacks and tell the same story I'm telling you right now. Like, if you just change the flashbacks.
The Sand People to Bosk.
Yeah, Sand People to Bosk. Change the flashbacks to that. And then have one episode of how he got out of the pit and him meeting with the Sand People. That's really all we needed to see of that story. So then you could just go into modern day from there. I know this is a different version of the story we got, so immediately it's like, well, it's kind of hard to compare the two because one happened, one didn't.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is there were roads they could have taken to make Cad a bigger threat in this episode and make his death worth it, and they didn't take them. Cad was cool. it was cool to hear him talk to Boba. They didn't reference the history enough for me. They really didn't. Uh,
Really?
yeah, I would have liked specifics. Like, for example, I
Oh, well,
really.
then that gets into the whole. As you know, this is our backstory. This
Yeah,
is our
but.
exposition for the audience.
But.
Remember that one time in Clone Wars, Boba?
Yeah.
Remember that one time that wasn't in Clone Wars, Boba? Yeah?
I mean,
That would
that's
have felt a bit
true.
pandery. I like, because the two of them are having this conversation and they both have all the context.
Well, here's the. I don't necessarily think exposition about who characters are is a bad thing. And I think there's an excuse to do some, because, first of all, Finnick has history with Cad as well, so there really
Mm.
should be an instant discussion there of, wait, you know who this is? Especially if Mando didn't know who Cad Bane
Yeah.
was. And another reason is through Boba's perception, because that footage that was seen, it was like, the scrap footage.
Yeah.
Through Boba's perception, Cad was dead. So there should have been some surprise there where he's like, how did you survive? I shot you in the head. And then Cad shows the wound on his head and points to it. I feel like that would have been enough of a big reference where I'm like, yeah, these are the same characters. They know each other. Because here it doesn't.
I don't think I would have liked that.
You wouldn't have liked it. I would have
No, I
liked it.
think, because
We're
okay, so
different humans.
Boba is told, hey, we're in the middle, we're about to have a war here, and it's not much of a war, but we're about to have a big battle. Some guy's here to see you. Someone got through our defenses, and he goes out without his helmet on, so you can see his facial reaction.
It would be
He's
interesting.
wearing his helmet. You get that shot of Boba's helmet. You get the moment of recognition of, oh, fuck, it's this guy. And we go into the scene. I don't think you need that. And it's like, okay, well, he's still alive. You don't get, because it's Boba Fett, the guy who had 3 lines in the original trilogy. He's not going to come out here and be like, oh my god, how are you still alive? Last time I saw you. That would feel really out of character.
You say
Instead,
that, but
I must be, and okay, he's wearing a helmet and everything, whatever flaws you see with the original Mandalorian season 1 and 2. But he comes out, and I think you get enough of that as is.
I don't know.
I think
I feel like Boba
the
has
Cad and
that
Boba
in it.
stuff, the Cad and Boba stuff, and fuck it, just the Cad stuff. Great. No, I have no complaints with any of it here. He's so much more expressive this episode. His sneer a bit more dynamics and range in the voice as he's talking to the Pikes and the mayor and everything.
I don't know.
Great this episode. The choice to kill him, stupid. Other than that,
there were 1 or 2 things where I was like, would Cad do that? Specifically, there was a thing where it was like, Cad told Boba that the Pikes are the ones who killed the Tuskens. And I remember sitting there like, isn't that bad business for a bounty hunter? Like, telling people shit like that? Like, I would assume that Cad was, like, better at his job than that. That was one of the big ones where I was like, that's kind of weird.
Had Fennec not been there, and he and Boba just went for the shootout, he would have killed Boba there and then.
Yeah.
Fennec calms him down. That's enough to anger Boba into a confrontation there. And as we see, Cad would have won that.
Well, here's the thing, though. I feel like if Cad was like, I want this situation to end with me killing Boba Fett, I think he just would have done it, whether it was aggravated or not. Like, he would have been like, fire.
And it's also him playing of like, hey, you want this bit of info? Hey, guess what? I don't particularly like these guys too much either, but they're paying me. Fuck it.
Yeah, I feel like it was just a little weird to me, especially because...
That's fair.
It felt like in a different version of the script, maybe Cad had something to do with it. Like, maybe Cad was the one that went in and slaughtered them. Because, like, he keeps bringing up the Tusken family as if he were there, and he wasn't. By the way...
yeah, he's given the info. He brings it up in the first meeting with Boba there. trying to aggravate him. And then he brings it up in the second confrontation, and by then Boba's like, yeah, this isn't going to work twice.
I, I, I know that I've brought this up a few times, but I legit want to know, because you were so passionate about it. Do you think that kid's alive?
No.
Because I don't think he matters.
Yeah. When they bring up his Tuscan tribe and everything, it's like, oh, are you sure they're all dead? I'm like, okay, that's us teeing it up. Nah, okay, they're dead.
If it means
Fine.
anything, the dog's dead too.
Yeah.
I really like that dog. Gosh, it's so weird to think about the reviews before the last couple of episodes. Because we were singing
It really
very
feels like the show
songs.
drastically changed directions.
Yeah, honestly, I think the biggest problem with this show is it doesn't really know. And you'll notice we're not talking about much of the plot of this episode, chat. There wasn't much. It was mostly just
it was
one
a big
giant fight scene, which is okay. We've seen that done really well in Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
See Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2. Again, that entire 5-6 episodes is one fight. And it's not your Dragon Ball 2 guys standing there yelling. It's conflict and the shift of power, and it's great.
I mean, Avatar does shit like this masterfully.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot. Dave Filoni. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Filoni.
You were saying, though?
Yeah, no, the fight. Cad, Boba. Yeah, no, this whole season, I feel like, and we were saying about it with the flashbacks. The flashbacks were great.
Mm-hmm.
The first few episodes with the flashbacks and the present day stuff was the weakest. And then we stopped getting flashbacks, got more of the present day, and it was great. But then they had this one episode to solve everything, and it didn't quite work. I think the biggest thing that could have benefited this show is an 8th episode where you just do this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Do it as a 2-part finale here. Flesh out, give us more of these character moments. Give us Fennec and Cad. Give us more with them. I feel like, and it could just be me thinking, if you just had more time, you could solve all the problems. Probably wishful thinking. I feel like most of my problems with this show is the pacing, which is what we've been saying since episode 2.
I mean, I would absolutely love my biggest problem to be the pacing. Unfortunately, my biggest problem is now you brought my favorite bounty hunter in here and made me watch him die. You bitch. And
even as I was saying last week, it's like, yeah, there's a fair chance they'll kill him, but as long as it's done well. And the killing was. It was a fight where Cad's like, I'm going to teach you this one last lesson before I kill you. And then it's Boba's connection with the gaffy stick and his family and the Tuscan tribe and everything that he uses to beat him.
It wasn't...
I think it works. That scene works for me.
I don't know if it was
should have had more Cad before it, but it works for me.
Should have had more build-up. I don't like it. Because I feel like I wanted... You'll remember last episode, I was like...
I was going to say, this is getting into a wee bit of a debate.
Last episode, I was very much like, I want the death to mean something if they're doing it. I legit, and I'm sure there are people who could rival me and be like, no, this is the ending of Boba's story. Listen, I know there's scrapped footage. I know there's a history here. I know, until this episode, the two characters in official footage have never met. This is their first meeting, and I get that they have a backstory that we can track.
This is their first meeting properly on screen, yeah.
There's probably a lot of fanfic in our head about the meetings they had.
There's implied stuff. There's like, even excluding the unfinished footage and everything, there's implied stuff to have happened between them even before this episode. We just never saw it.
When he was lying on the ground dying, I remember thinking in my head, what was this for? What did Cad, honest to God, do? And because when I think of great villains, I think of their actions and the big things they did. Like, I think of Joker shooting Batgirl in the back. I think of uh,
Personally, think that's a poor example. But
oh, you didn't like Killing Joke? The movie's
I like
bad.
Killing Joke. Women in refrigerators. It's
Oh
yeah,
no, no. She came back as Batgirl. You know, like
yeah.
I thought the scene was chilling and was like,
After a
look
later
at this
writer
woman.
decided to finally retcon that.
Yeah. I think of like the okay, well another
Joker in
example.
the Dark Knight.
If we want to go Dark Knight, it's when he threatens to blow up a hospital and stuff like that. Those very iconic scenes where he's
Yeah.
literally like an agent of let's see if good people will choose to be good and shit like that. I think of if we're using Marvel as an example, I think of Loki's struggle to really figure out what it is he wants. I think of Thanos being so sure of
Actions
his
speak louder
destiny.
than words.
Yeah. I think of Thanos so sure of his destiny, seeing that his planet failed and truly believing this is the only way to save people, still believing he's the hero when his mission is to literally kill half of all existence. And when I think of, okay, what's something cool and awesome that Cad did? I think of the time he stole Jedi children. I think of the time he, almost by himself, nearly kidnapped the Chancellor. I think of shit like that. I can't
Broken
think
to
of
the Jedi
shit in this.
Temple.
I guess Cobb getting shot was cool, and his, like, face... the coolest thing about him is how he looks in this show. And that
Yeah,
is...
in this show, it is purely the aesthetic. And okay, yeah, he's a threat. He's the fastest gunslinger in the West.
He didn't even
About it.
use his jet boots.
Yeah, wasn't wearing them. Don't know what happened to those. Do I remember? Did he have them in Bad Batch? I feel like he did.
I think he did because, like, I remember in that area of, like, in Bad Batch, there's a time. Are they in an abandoned clone place?
Yeah, I
When,
think he uses
which,
them on
by the
like a
way,
platform at the end.
I did finish Bad Batch. By the way,
Ah, nice. We'll need to cover that at some point.
you are very fucking sneaky. That time when I was like, I really like Camino. It's one of my favorite locations in
Oh
Star
yeah.
Wars. Meanwhile, me just blissfully unaware they fucking nuke it. Blissfully unaware. God, I'm just looking at that picture of Cad behind my frickin' Fortnite Boba Fett, and I keep thinking, you look so good. You look so beautiful. I want you to take over the world, and he never
Yeah,
will.
he does have his rocket. He has his rocket boots in Bad Batch.
I was pretty sure he did because the environment
19
there.
minutes. 19 minutes in, he uses them. Yeah.
The thing I was referencing, chat, is like when they kidnapped Omega. There's like a brief pause where they're on this elevated building or something, and I was pretty sure that Cad fell off of it at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, Fennec kicks him off the edge.
God, he was so.
Oh, he falls so fast. Oh,
He
God.
was really good in Bad Batch too. I
Yeah.
look forward to seeing him in there more.
And he's really good
Hopefully.
here. He just isn't given too much to do because he's only in this last episode and one scene in the previous one.
I think the reason we're saying Cad was really good here is because he looked really good. If this character
But
would have...
the tension of the scene with him and Cobb was great.
I think
And again,
the
I
portrayal and
liked
the
all his
acting
appearances
was
here.
good.
I think he was great.
Yeah. I think the portrayal and the acting was great. The voice is top-notch as always. I just think that the fact that they gave him nothing to do kind of limits everything. Because it's
Yes.
like it's the equivalent of like, oh my god, I can't believe I can make this comparison. It's the equivalent of like Boba Fett in the fucking original trilogy, where he was kind of there and he looked cool, but if you really ask yourself, what did he do? He didn't do anything. He just kind of stood there while Darth Vader turned someone to stone. And then he tried to do something and he ended up in a fucking sand hole. Where's my
Giant
sand
sand
hole for
chicken.
Cad Bane? Why didn't he get a sand hole?
One was impaled through him. What are you talking about?
One got a sand hole, the other one got a
A
hole in
hole
their
full of
chest in the
sand.
sand. I mean, it's
Ugh.
windy. It's windy there. He probably got some
A
sand
fe-
in his wound.
I've got a few more notes on Cad, and I feel like we should move on to the rest of the episode.
Look, man, we know what the tragedy. There's not much plot to this episode.
Yeah. Like,
Honestly,
even then, I didn't take many notes. I I watched it once before work on the day, and then yesterday I watched it and took notes halfway through and then gave up.
I will say this. This is the cutest Grogu has looked ever. I'll bring that up again. But the last thing I'll say about the Hawkeye comparison is Hawkeye had 3 arcs to it, in my perception. The first 2 episodes were kind of focused on the mystery and what's going on with Kate's mom and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the second 2 episodes are about the tracksuit mafia and the Ronin past. Like, the next 2, like episodes 3 and 4. While the final 2 episodes are about the setup for Kingpin, the Watch, and kind of
I'd say they're
image.
not even really about the watch. I think it's the setup for Kingpin and Yelena.
Yeah, the Watch is really actually part of 3 and 4. Yelena and Kingpin kind of steal the last arc, so I would say it's about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with this, the first 4 episodes, solid. Very solid show, great tone, really getting into it. Episodes 5 and 6, and I say this, I gave 6 and 11. Episodes 5 and 6 are not Book of Boba Fett. They're something else. And then the last episode tries to wrap it all together, and it doesn't really work because you also have this giant fight scene going on to the point where they're trying, like, you can clearly tell people cared about this and were trying in the writer's room, but you just couldn't do all, you couldn't juggle that many pins.
Yeah, they tried to do too much in this first season.
You put too much, and they were really going solid with it, to where at the point when we have our last scene with Finnick and Boba, and they're talking about, like, man, this really isn't a job for people like us, and they're walking down the street, if you just cut that scene in episode 1, when they were walking down the street, I couldn't tell you the difference. Boba's just not wearing his helmet anymore. I wouldn't have known those weren't the same scene. It feels like they didn't progress much. It feels like they just maybe got rid of the Pikes, and fuck you, that was not the whole Pike Syndicate. Fuck you, that was not the whole Pike Syndicate. They seem to be saying it was. They said they killed the leader, right? Is this
the
just
leader
the
are the ones
Tatooine
here
branch?
anyway? Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I really hope they're not trying to claim that all the Pikes are straight up done now. Cause
no way.
No way.
They're probably done. They'll be done with Tatooine for a while at least.
Do you think this gets a season 2 as well? I meant to ask you that because I kind of hope it does, but like it needs more focus if they're gonna do that.
Where we left it with, our team standing together, joking together, I feel like it probably will. And I mean, you have that bit with Cobb at the end, and it's like, well, unless that's just to go, okay, everyone, don't worry, we haven't killed off Cobb, you're all good. You're never going to see him again, though.
Because if there was one character I was really worried about the fate of, it was the guy who got shot in the shoulder.
I mean, I did legitimately think that he died later in this episode when, the weak way, who we finally got a name for, but I didn't write it down because I didn't get that far through my notes. But when the people of Freetown show up, and the way they're talking about it, it seems like Cobb's properly dead. And I'm like, oh, that's sad. Moving on. Ask me, yeah.
Were the people of Freetown really, like, that big of, like, a game changer as well? Because I didn't think mentally they were, because I remember just recently their town got taken captive by criminals. So I was like, you had these great fighters who were, like, taking out these droids and shit, and the town still got taken over? It kind of retroactively hurts other stuff. I don't know. Maybe
I
maybe
mean,
maybe Cobb was like never again, and he started training people.
yeah, that was before Mando showed up and they worked with the Tuscans to fight a crate dragon and everything.
I don't know.
We know they got some new people in and everything.
Ewoks took out the Empire. Weirder things have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, my last notes I think I've got on CAD before probably moving on with him was I think it's 12 minutes and 15 seconds in is now one of my favorite shots in live action Star Wars. It's the one you get a side-on profile shot of CAD, and it's like completely whited out by the sun, and the camera moves down, and you get then the shadow, and he's then in focus, and you see the sand and dust in the air and everything. It's just a really cool shot, and it's like, yeah, he's practical and he looks phenomenal.
The favorite shot I've been obsessed with is when he's talking to Cad and all you can see is his mouth and the brim of the hat. That shot's been like, holy fuck, they really did that. All right, we gotta move past my baby. Lay him to rest.
Yeah. For now.
What are the rest of your notes?
Again, not many, because I've just got the episode open, so I can toggle through as we go. Sanctuary was bombed. Yep, Garza Whip did not survive. But again, Max Rebo was pointedly the only time we saw the Sanctuary, and he wasn't there.
He was in on it.
Max Rebo's alive.
He's in on it.
Yeah.
He knew. He's got connection to the Pikes. You don't get that many gigs and not have connections with. Why was the mayor gone? The mayor was gone, so he didn't get caught in the crossfire. Why was Max Rebo?
Yep. Yep.
There's a conspiracy.
We get confirmation that the Pikes killed the Tuscans, which we've been theorizing about for a while. And then we get the X-Wing flying in. That's the next moment. The X-Wing flying into Mos Eisley and landing at Pelly's yard. She immediately assumes it's the cops.
Who did you think was in it at first? Because I thought it was going to be Luke with Grogu.
I thought it was going to be Luke. And then I thought it was going to be Luke, and I thought, okay, this is a really weird choice to have Luke come here to drop him off, and then Luke to just leave. Because if he sticks around, it undercuts the rest of the story of everything going on here with Boba. Although, again, we still haven't had that Luke and Boba interaction. They've been strategically keeping those two apart.
Yeah, I really thought there was going to be a conversation between... God, this is like wet dream territory for Star Wars fans. But if Luke Skywalker, Boba Fett, and Cad Bane all had a conversation about Anakin Skywalker, that would have been pretty fucking cool for me. Because they all met him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Luke briefly did.
Boba tried to kill him before that was the big thing.
Yeah. I tried killing Anakin before it was cool.
God, it is weird to think about that.
Before he was cool. Before Anakin was cool.
I tried to take him out in the prequel era, back when he was the best. Boba Fett's just a hardcore prequel nerd. That's why we got flashbacks to him on Camino. God, I wish we would have got him.
Pelly was so cute there with Grogu. I love her little interactions with Grogu. They're fun. I didn't go anywhere. I don't expect it to, but in my head, when she calls Grogu Bright Eyes. It's like a nickname at one point. I'm like, it's like bloody Bill Burr called Mando Brown Eyes. That's his nickname for him.
I will say this, which I think is an incredibly big step in this episode. Pelly's comedy for me has always kind of been hit or miss, where I'm like, you're fine existing, but I don't want too much of you. I thought she was on tap this episode. Like I thought she was great. That whole thing with her droid-drawn carriage and her being part of the action. I adored Peli this episode, and Grogu was great too. Which when he like jumps into Mando's
He
arms,
force jumps into his dad's arms.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that looked like force jumping. I thought it looked like they threw the damn puppet, and I still feel like it looks like they threw that damn puppet.
I mean, they probably did on set. But, you know.
You drop that.
We saw how high Grogu could jump last episode, and you see how high he jumps there.
It's very cute. I also love the line of "You got the shirt."
Yeah. Oh.
He chose his daddy. Can we blame him? He chose his dad. God,
he made the right choice.
Here's the thing. I do think Grogu, in the long run, is going to end up back at some sort of Jedi temple. Because in my head, like, we gotta think about the future for Grogu. Because fucking Yoda had almost 1,000 years under his belt. Not quite 1,000. I think he lived to be 900.
900 and something, yeah.
Grogu is currently 50, I assume 53 at this point, in his 50s.
Yeah.
Grogu's going to be around in the Star Wars canon for a really long time, and he's going to be spending the majority of the one we are currently in as a little dude.
Yeah.
So, I really wonder with all of my heart how the story of Grogu and the Mandalorian ends, because you kind of had your chance where Mando leaves him to live out the rest of his life, and you went back on it. So now I wonder, okay, it has to end with Din Djarin dying. It has to end with him either dying, because even if he throws away the Mandalorian thing and he's like, I'm no longer a Mandalorian, he's still gonna die, and Grogu's going to be a baby, just by the rule of old age. So I think their story needs to be a bittersweet ending, where Grogu says goodbye and goes back to the Jedi Temple, because in the long run, he needs the Jedi. I'm just saying, there's gonna come a day, and it's sad to think about because we love these two, but there's gonna come a day in story where Mando dies because he's too old.
Yeah.
So unless he dies in a mission,
is going to vastly outlive him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honestly, it would be neat to like see a Yoda that has to like deal with that trauma. Like, it would be really neat if there was an episode maybe after Grogu learns how to talk, because I feel like that will happen eventually. I think that there will be an episode where Grogu straight up asks Din, what happens when you die? And that might be an important thing for a season.
Yeah, I could see that.
But once again, loved Peli this episode. She really came in and added in some good laughs when I was not having much fun.
Yeah, her and the Major Domo got good. The wee interactions with them towards the end as well.
Did you detect romance there? I detected romance there.
I'm sure that's where they're going. Because I know they're both like comedic actors, so I'm guessing they've both been on SNL or some sketch show or something before. I'm sure those two are colleagues out with Star Wars.
Season 3 comes around and they're a couple.
Yeah.
That'd be a bit hilarious to me, like the two kind of comic relief And it's really funny because Peli's whole thing is she's like extreme and like kind of in over her head. Meanwhile, this guy thinks he has control over every situation he's in.
Yeah. Even there where he's like, not that you know, except from the faint hints within my accent. Oh, I went to Coruscant. Not that makes me better than anyone.
I would love to see this. God, I'd actually watch a show about it. I would watch Peli and the snooty guy.
Depending on how they do it, I'd watch a couple episodes.
Unless it was
great.
I'd watch a comedy. Like, if they did a straight-up WandaVision-esque sitcom with Peli and this Twi'lek, I'd watch it.
I mean, bearing in mind, up until this episode, you were saying her comedy was a bit hit and miss.
Oh, yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, so
well, they nailed it this episode.
I'd watch a special. I'd watch a couple episodes. Yeah. There's something there.
The new
Okay,
Star
we'll see them
Wars
again.
Christmas special is just Pele in this Twi'lek setting in sweaters. Let's go to this random cantina where frickin' B. Arthur works, and we'll celebrate Life Day.
Yeah.
And then we'll kill
we
her
get
off in one episode for no reason.
then we start getting into the fights, and because again, as someone who liked Boba Fett, the choice to potentially kill him off is sort of the only big thing I didn't like that we've talked about so far, for me. But then we start getting into the problems with this episode for me,
Yeah.
which is the Fennec explaining the plan, and it's such a convention in anime and wider storytelling as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's okay, something's going down. We find out what our hero's plan is. It's like, okay, cool. The only reason we're finding out their plan before it happens is so we can watch it fail.
Yeah.
Death Note, one of the best episodes of everything with Ray Pember. No spoilers for people who haven't seen Death Note. We know the main character has a plan. Cut forward to the plan happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, we get the wee backstory of how he worked all this out. And you're like, oh my god, that's so clever. Anytime you get, okay, here's the plan, here's what we're going to do. That's entirely so you can watch it fail. And they go, we're going to slowly, again, with the Vespas moving annoyingly slightly too slow. And it's like, yep, and the Gamorreans are stationed here. Here's what they're going to do. Chrysanthemum is stationed here. Here's what he's going to do. The mods, meanwhile, are going to be parked over here, ready to do this thing, while we hunker down here, ready for battle. It's like, okay, ready to see your web just collapse. It just show them there.
Trope.
You don't need to break it down that much.
I mean, I will say when Avatar did that trope, weirdly enough, a lot of Avatar comparisons this episode.
Yeah.
When Avatar did that trope, specifically when like the eclipse happened and they were going in to get the Fire Lord.
Day of Black Sun.
That fucking shit was gnarly. Like that. Yeah. Like that
You're
was
told
a really
the plan
good episode.
so you can see it fail, and it fails so spectacularly that it works. Here's like, yep, and then the two Gamorreans keep getting poked with sticks until they walk off a cliff backwards to their death. Okay, cool.
Noticed you didn't get a BAFTA tag for that asshole, Boba. The random guy you haven't met? Cool. Gamorrean that saved your life in episode 1? Fuck that guy.
I feel like they probably went splat when they hit the ground. It doesn't there's too
Oh
much
no, they're super dead.
Yeah.
I'm just being... They're super... I loved it too. Like, that's the one moment where I was like, Jesus, are they going to show them falling? And it was like, fuck, they did. That probably made some kids cry, honestly, if kids are watching the show.
A bunch of the mods get shot up, and the moment they went, okay, Dash and Scad are doing this, I'm like, okay, cool. You've named 2 of them. These are the only ones we need to care about. And sure enough, they seemingly mow down the rest of them.
So here's the thing, and this, I also had a problem with the action. I believe that the best action, and you'll notice this, Marvel fucking has this down. Like, Marvel almost fucking spoils you with this, where all their action is very character-focused. Like, specifically of, how does this character feel when this is happening? What does this effect have on this character? Like, I think Shang-Chi is a good example of this, when he's literally using his mother's fighting style to defeat his father. I think that's a great example. I think Iron Man using the snap and saying, I am Iron Man, another great example of this. Here, I think that with the action, there were definitely a couple good character moments. Like, I love seeing the 2 Mandalorians using their jetpacks to fight
covering each other. That whole sequence was great.
I didn't really have a sense of threat here. And I don't know if it was just the way it was shot. Maybe it needed to be more character-focused in that regard. I never thought, like, the closest I got to being worried about the characters is there was a brief second I thought they might kill Black Chrysanthemum. And in my head, I was like, no, they're not going to do that now. He's in safety. They're not going to kill any of the Freetowners. And they really didn't. They didn't kill people to make you feel that Game of Thrones style, like, oh shit, more people are dying. Who could be next? You don't know. No, I knew who was going to get out of this. I knew all the main characters were going to get out. I knew the villain was going to die. The second you see that scene with Cad, you go in your head, yeah, we know. One of them's not coming back from this. And it just felt like if we would have had more, like, and Finnick is Shaft. God, I have so much to bitch about. But
Yeah,
if we would
Finnick
have
was horrifically underutilized in this show.
If we would have had more scenes of, like, when Grogu showed up, obviously the Mandalorian was excited, like Din was hyped.
I know, you
But
can hear it in his voice.
here's the thing, I would have liked there to be in a scene, whether it be short, whether it be while they're under gunfire, where we feel the risks of that, where Boba's like, we might lose a few forces, but we have to charge in. And then him and Mando have a conversation like, Grogu's here. We're not losing anybody. You can't do that. We can't risk Grogu. And that leads to him going, all right, I'll go get this. I would have liked it if there was a discussion where someone went, Boba, go get the Rancor. And he went, I'm not sure I should do that because it could go out of control. I would have liked shit like that, where it's like the characters are putting themselves in these situations. Because to me, it just feels like things are happening to these characters, not that these characters are going through something. It just feels like, look at that, a big droid! Look at that, an explosion! Look at that, a cool action scene! It never felt real. It never felt personal.
Grogu talk bit. Yeah, I agree with that. On the wee Grogu talk bit, you kind of get the opposite of that, where he's gone and dropped off the shirt and everything. He's like, he's with the Jedi now and whatever, and Boba's like, you should probably leave now. And Mando's like, there's nothing else really for me. I'll stick around here and die with honor with you. And then he finds out the kid's still alive, and it's like, okay, crap. We both need to make it out of this.
That would have been such a, like, to go with our joke of Din just coming and taking over the show. The second Grogu shows up, he's just like, yeah, no, let's leave. Fuck, bye, Boba. Sorry. This is the pipes.
I can't risk my kid's safety. No, we're out.
I got a season 3 to shoot with this guy. We are going to go ahead and do that. Bye, Boba. I'm leaving.
Yeah. Good. You're here now. We can start shooting. Come on, let's go.
What do the rest?
No, I think on the Rancor thing as well. That's my rewrite. That I think we would have had. I think we would have had a problem with it initially, but would have been a great payoff here. And I think would have boosted this finale a bit. Is again, Boba was in the previous episode. Didn't say anything. Wasn't even in the previous one, the one before that. I think if you just had lines from Fennec, or maybe some people are like, are meeting, and it's like, so what? Where's Boba? Or people who are joining their side are like, I was kind of hoping to talk to the boss, and it's like, he's busy right now. You allude to the fact he's training the Rancor. So then, okay, he shows up here, and we're doing the fight and everything, and he flies off, and he comes back so that's so much more of a payoff, so much more of a moment. Because like Danny Trejo says, it's like, it'll bond with you and all that. But the training, you need to learn to do this. And again, sure, Boba says like, I've ridden bigger before and all that, allusions to the holiday special. But I feel like you could have built to that a little bit more. Given that you didn't use Boba for the previous 2 episodes, that's just say that that's what he's doing rather than.
That would have helped.
Stand there in a meeting doing fuck all.
I agree with you. That would have helped.
I think that's, if I could change one thing about this series, that would be it. Because again, I'm in denial enough to go, Cad's. We might still see more of Cad after this point. Definitely seen more before. We might see more after this point. And if I was to change one thing that wouldn't drastically alter the story, that'd be it.
Even if he's not dead, from a storytelling perspective, this is now the second time Boba has fought that he killed Cat Bane and didn't. So,
which I think that can then work for Cad Bane again, of being, this guy is so hard to kill.
I'm just saying, if he
Maul.
If he comes back
I guess.
a third goddamn time, and someone kills him a third goddamn time, and they don't just cut off his head or some shit, they're the dumbasses now.
Yep.
Because
I've seen a bunch of people theorizing, like, oh, is wee heart, which I'm calling it a heart monitor, so we don't know what it is. The wee blinking box on his chest. It's like, oh, it's sending a signal to Toto to come pick him up. Which I'd be all for, to be honest.
I will say this. I would not be surprised, because this is such a badass character. I would not be surprised if he has a device to where when he is critically injured, it does alert other people to come get him. I would not be surprised. That being said, though, I don't know. I struggle to think of, like... I struggle to think of a satisfying way to bring him back. And even if they do bring him back, like, if they do bring him back, I will be very happy. But I still have the criticism of, why'd you bother with the death scene? Why didn't you use that time to progress this character's story instead of trying to trick us into thinking you ended it?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that, as you're saying, why would you kill him here? Why would you do this? Why, if you're going to bring him back, that it's for a grander... Again, we don't know, so at the moment I'm like, this is another one of Filoni's characters. I kind of trust him with it. But if he's killed off Cad, it'll be for some reason. So we can now have something else happening and not know what, Cad's in the background doing something else that we don't know about. That we don't even know Cad is doing. All the characters think he's dead. Yeah.
I'll say this.
They can do something. But again, this is all just hypotheticals and me in denial.
I am much more worried going into the Ahsoka show now. Because I feel like the logo of the Ahsoka show, the way it did it with, like, I'm going to look up the logo again before I commit to saying this idea, because I don't want to sound like a dumbass. But I feel like we all know the Ahsoka show is going to involve some stuff from Rebels. And I'm now wondering in my head, is that a good thing? Because, like, if they bring in Sabine, and it is, like, clearly Sabine, a great recreation of Sabine.
Yeah.
But they give her nothing to do? Or alternatively, if they don't represent her well, it's honestly going to make me hate the fucking shows even more. And in the logo for her show, you can see all this constellation stuff and these star charts and stuff that look really cool. For the logo of her show, I'm looking at it right now. I think that owl that has been following Ahsoka this whole time, could theoretically be a big bad of all these shows going forward. Like, not Mariah themselves, but maybe signify that maybe there's still something going on with the Mortis gods, and maybe there's a way to get that brother back as a villain. I think that would be gnarly. I am now terrified of the idea of that. I am now terrified of them pulling more stuff from Clone Wars. Because from this point on, I'm going to look at it and be like, are they going to respect you, or are they going to treat you like you're nothing? Because it really feels like they do that from time to time now. Like, Disney has been doing that, and that's been frustrating.
How do you think Ahsoka was handled, coming from live action to animation?
I thought Ahsoka was handled visually pretty well. I thought that her episode was pretty good. The reason I thought the episode was good, though, was not because of Ahsoka in general. I thought her scenes were cool. I liked learning more about Grogu, and I liked the emotional scenes between Mando and Grogu when he's saying his name for the first time. There was a lot of weight in that episode, and Din and Grogu had their first training together where he was holding the little ball and he's like, yeah, dang Ferrick, you did it, kid. He's so excited. I have yet to really get a read on Rosario Dawson's personality when she plays Ahsoka. I haven't connected to the character the same way I have animated Ahsoka yet. Going into her show, I'm a bit scared. I'm just going to be real. I don't think they're going to kill her off because, like,
no,
her name's in the title. But look at their track record with this shit. I just really want them to, like, tell the next chapter of these character stories and make them interesting. But to some degree, it seems like they're going back and going, we don't want to do anything with these characters. But people like these characters, so we will bring them back and give them some attention. We're just going to cap them by the end. I honestly think your theory of...
under the assumption the cat is dead, yes.
I think your theory of we didn't want two characters with blue faces and red eyes might actually have some fucking weight to it.
Oh, I totally forgot I said that, yeah.
I legit believe...
One of them has a cowboy hat, come on.
I legit believe that they may have went like, yeah, we don't want people to confuse these two. Let's bring in Cad and kill him. So that
perhaps
they don't.
That's your reason for Cad, quote-unquote, dying. To have him out of the way for a little bit for you to introduce Thrawn. And people to know that they're different characters before...
I feel like
we're good.
I feel like it's obvious.
In which case, you probably in that case you just shouldn't have introduced Cad.
Yeah.
In live action. Yeah. There's
I mean,
it's weird because we're at the finale, and at the finale we should go, okay, cool. This is what happened. This all made sense. Now let's speculate for the future. It feels like we're still in the middle of a show here. Where it's like, okay, I don't like that choice, but hey, depending on how it ends.
Yeah.
And we don't know how it's going to end because it's all these intertwined shows.
I think when I review these things, I fundamentally kind of judge them. Like, when we're at the end, I judge them as a complete product. But as we go through each episode, I'm like, okay, episode 1, I like you. And then episode 2, I'm like, now I compare this episode to the broader story we have so far. That's why the last episode of Hawkeye was my worst reviewed. Because when I viewed it as one full story, it was kind of not that great. But
well, because that's the job of the finale is to conclude the story thus far. That is the purpose of that episode.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair to do.
And I feel like when I look back at Hawkeye, I'm like, God, there were some high highs and there were some low lows. And that's my feeling on Hawkeye. When I look at this show, I keep thinking, what a waste of potential. Like, in every regard. Because the first 4 episodes... we had our problems with it.
The Rancor was so cool.
The Rancor was cool, but our first 4 episodes...
Its action sequences were great.
I have a couple problems with those too. We'll talk about it. But those first 4 episodes, as far as I'm concerned, solid. Like, we were critical of them where we needed to be critical. But when those
as a separate story from the rest of the show, yes, solid.
God,
and then the following 2 as a separate thing from everything else, solid. Finale that tried to juggle everything. No.
It really feels like if those last 2 episodes... and don't get me wrong, I love episode 6, which is why it feels so weird to say shit like this. But if episodes 5 and 6 just would have been more of the story we had gotten, and if maybe during that time... like, if you spent all of Mando's scenes... like, if you took every scene that Mando has in the show... and instead spent all of those scenes developing Cad, that's a lot of fucking time to develop a villain.
Yeah.
It just feels like you should have done something else. If you wanted to do a Boba Fett show, you should have done a Boba Fett show. If you wanted to do like a Star Wars crossover event, you should have done a crossover event. You shouldn't have tried to disguise the Boba Fett show as the Star Wars crossover event. Because you just ended up blowing it up, I guess. It just didn't really work for me. And there are so many people who are like, the show only got good when Mando showed up. I hard disagree.
I think
I don't.
the show
Mm,
got better when Mando showed up. The story suffered. The story overall, I think, again, like my ratings show the previous 2 episodes I thought were amazing. As we said, episode 6, some of the best Star Wars we've ever had.
mm.
The quality of the show overall, however, did not benefit from that.
I'm just saying, we were given, like, I believe before episode 5 came out, wasn't our episode review of episode 4 pretty close to a 9?
Episode 4.
Didn't we both get
Episode
pretty
4,
close to
I
9?
gave a 9.5, you gave a 6.
I gave episode 4 a 6?
Oh, episode 4? Is this
Oh
episode
no,
4?
that was assuredly the episode with Mando in it.
Nope,
That
that's
is-
episode 5, my bad. Episode 4 was a 9 from you and a 9.5 from me.
Yeah, so we were clearly liking it before this happened.
Yeah.
And I think that, God, it's so weird to think back to those older episodes because they didn't really go anywhere.
Mm.
But there was some really good stuff, and episodes 4 and 3 really exemplified that. I think episode 3, maybe? I think episode 2 had the best flashback. Episode 3 had the best modern day stuff. Because that's when he got the Rancor and shit. Oh no, Jack. Jack's fading. We'll be back. We're pausing. And that's why off screen, me and Jack agreed that Hawkeye is the best Avenger and Loki sucks. We decided together it sucks. And they should just stop filming.
On Marvel stuff, I was thinking about this, and I was gonna save it to the end because we're taking this quickly moment. Which was a worse finale, this or WandaVision?
This.
Oh, okay. I'd hard say WandaVision.
WandaVision at least fucking felt like an ending. When I get to the end of WandaVision, I'm like, okay, well, at least now she's in place for, like, Doctor Strange. She let the people go. The story of WandaVision has concluded. What did Finnick and Boba get at the end? Yeah, they're in charge, but nothing looks differently. We don't see Boba speaking to the people. We just see people waving at him. It feels... I don't even know what Boba's goals are going forward. Like, is he the leader of
I feel like that's the problem with the whole show, I think.
And
because
to
as
be fair,
like you were saying earlier on in our reviews of this show, like you wanted to see Boba in like no more shady shit, like an upright guy and everything running the planet essentially.
and you kind of get that at the end. But it's
and here
not
you get it, it's like,
specific.
yeah, we've cleared out the pikes, we're in this one wee city, this is what we run. Yeah, we run Jabba's territories now, but it's like, I think it's a whole problem with Boba in general of, what do you do with him? Because we really liked all the Tusken stuff. And it's like, okay, well now we've killed off the Tuskens to motivate him to do the thing that he wants to do. We haven't worked out what that is yet, but that's what we've done.
He rules with respect. Okay, but what does that mean?
It means that while people are rebuilding their destroyed houses from his fight, they give him Maelorons. That is what that means.
Yeah. I mean, also, there was no moment where it was like, vengeance for the Twi'lek woman who died. Nah, she just dead and it didn't matter. Why did they blow her up? Was she loyal to him or something? I didn't really get that read either.
Meant to be, but like in the same way that everyone else was meant to be. I did like the mayor being like, hey, this isn't what we agreed. Stop it.
I do remember...
In response to that, but it's like, it wasn't worth doing that just to get that reaction. So.
I remember somebody in that room, I can't remember which character it was, somebody in that room during the scene where he's like, stop that. Fucking somebody got sassy with Cad, and I remember thinking he should just shoot them. But then I
In that scene,
also
it was just the mayor Cad and the head of the Pikes.
it was probably the mayor then who got sassy with Cad. I think someone was like, I didn't realize the Pikes were so brutal or something.
I think Cad says that, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's when they're saying about having killed and blamed it on the Nikto speed bikers.
Okay, so question.
Hmm.
What about this was better for you than WandaVision? Because now since we're going down this path, I think fundamentally for me, the reason WandaVision is better is because it did feel like an ending. Like it felt a little rushed and it felt like, maybe we could have been doing other things. But it did feel like an ending. And, there was some satisfaction there. There were still some good scenes.
I'd say the same. Again, I think this may just come down to me liking the Cad stuff more than you did here.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought there were good scenes. Again, the Rancor stuff was all great. The Grogu and the Rancor stuff was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Cad stuff was great. The Peli in the Major Domo. As we
Peli
said, there were a
was
bunch of moments that we like. I liked a bunch of moments throughout this episode. The finale of WandaVision, off the top of my head, Agatha, the scene of Wanda saying goodbye to her kids, the post-credit scene. Oh, and the two computers debating life, Vision and Vision. Other than that, the WandaVision finale is like, behold, here's this book out of nowhere that we showed you very briefly. Okay, now we're going to use this. Oh, and by the way, we're in the finale of the show here, and we are now presenting you with, the witch who casts the runes within this domain has control in this area. So, yeah, you had how many episodes to set up the key thing to win this fight? That's a big problem I had with Doctor Who's latest season. It's like, okay, we need a way for the Doctor and to get these two people into this bad guy's ship. Okay, crap, we're on the finale. The bad guys are addicted to chocolate, and they'll give them the recipe for chocolate. That's what we're doing.
What?
The latest series of Doctor Who was absolute horseshit. I feel like I could have said that last season as well, and the season before that. Come to think of it.
Isn't Russell T Davies coming back, or the original
thank
writer?
Fucking God! I'm swearing a lot. I'm swearing more about Doctor Who here than I am. Yeah. Okay.
You were clearly angry. You're more passionate about one of these things right now.
I have a cardboard cutout of a TARDIS in the corner. It's small, so you probably can't see it at this angle, but still.
I mean, that's fair.
Also British.
I love the Matt Smith era and the Tennant era. Those were the only two I saw, though.
Okay. Capaldi is definitely more than worth a watch. But yeah, no, this... With WandaVision, for the finale, it's okay, and the people in the town have that... What? A paragraph of text, potentially, talking to Wanda, saying, hey, please let us go. And it's like, okay, cool. Are we gonna properly address any of this stuff? No, she's flying away. Okay, cool. The Doctor Strange trailer is like, yeah, what I did was bad. Oh, no, come on, Wanda. No one cares. We're here for my story now.
I mean, honestly, I'm kind of in a similar situation, but with Book of Boba Fett, where I thought WandaVision did fulfill in a lot of those regards. Book of Boba Fett, I was sitting at the end where fucking Boba and Fennec are walking down the street, and I'm like, oh yes, this fight felt like it mattered. Look how everybody seems to be happy and saying bye to Boba Fett. Yeah, it totally
Everyone
feels
is
like the
thankful
huge fight mattered.
Yeah, this huge fight, which the people of this town, the mods, specifically as the spokespeople for, wanted them to do here rather than out by the palace in the middle of nowhere. In a defensible position where we would have seen Cad coming for a mile away, we would have seen these massive droids coming for a mile away.
The people who are here would not currently be in danger because these droids would go to attack us.
Yep.
But no, I'll just bring a Rancor here, and then I'll just That's another thing. In my head, I'm like, after Boba killed Cad, what did he do? Because I'll tell you what I would have done. I would have, because that whole exchange is only like 2 minutes back and forth. Like, that's not a long fight when they kill each other. I would have used my jetpack, and I would have gone and ran up to this pet that only ever imprinted on me, and I would have tried to calm it down. Meanwhile, Boba's getting drunk or something in the corner, just looking at Cad's corpse.
Cad comes out, fire the Rancor runs away.
Immediately goes into a frenzy and becomes a bad guy.
Yeah, basically 2.5 minutes, yeah. And then smash cuts to Rancor running around for 3 minutes until Grogu seems to knock it out, so there's not too much time in that.
I thought the Rancor effect looked good. I like the Rancor, but I gotta be real, my whole opinion of every Rancor scene after those droids were destroyed is merely, we needed a new bad guy, and the last one wasn't fulfilling the scenes we want to do, so I guess the fucking Rancor's a villain now.
I think there's a reason for this. For one, King Kong homage, and finds out the building. But no, and this might be a bit headcanon-y questionable here. So remember with season 1 of The Mandalorian, they moved the release of the finale forward?
Yeah.
So that it was before Last Jedi. No, Rise of Skywalker.
They do.
So we could introduce Force heal.
Yeah.
Here we have an animal rampaging, and a Force user we are familiar with calms it down. That is Ezra Bridger through and through.
I did like that.
I think this is introducing that Force ability to the live action general public for Ezra coming back in Ahsoka. I think that's why you did this scene, and also so we can have Boba's pet facing down Mando's pet, and they snuggle up together and sleep.
I mean,
Mando's son. My apologies.
I think that's possible. I do, however, want to bring up that I feel like this show, more than any other Star Wars show, is kind of bogged down from the whole, well, we got other stuff coming out later, so we got to set it up. Like,
yeah.
Marvel has kind of been skirting that line too, and I will say that I think Marvel is doing it a bit more subtly, where like...
And has been for the past decade.
Yeah. Well, usually other Marvel characters only show up if it makes sense for that character to show up. Like, fucking Ant-Man went to go rob... Ant-Man went to go rob a Stark base that had the Avengers logo on it. And Avenger shows up. That makes sense. Hulk's in space. Thor Ragnarok, yeah. Here, it's like, okay, and Ahsoka's there. Why is Ahsoka there? She is. But why?
To be an intermediary between...
No, she feels she fills a key function. Like, they gave her something to do.
She fills a function within that episode, but that episode is such a stand-alone from the rest of this show that it's, why is Ahsoka in this show?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she's to be in this episode. Why is this episode in this show?
Well, you want to know why the real reason why she's in this show. It's so when her show comes out, people go, oh, hey, we know her.
Despite
Clone Wars, Mando. Well, she's hitting a whole new audience now. Like, she's hitting the live-action Star Wars audience.
Well, no, I mean, yes, but I don't know, of course, and I don't think Disney Plus releases the numbers or anything, but I can guarantee you the viewership for Mandalorian is higher than the viewership for Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
So people will know her from Mandalorian, rather than needing to see her here.
But I think they still want to set up some of the shit. Like, if you'll notice, they mentioned, like, in the last episode, how do I phrase this? This is weird to review. It's weird to review it as a whole, but I'm going to do that. If you go in and look at Ahsoka's last episode, that she was in besides Book of Boba Fett. Her whole thing is she's kind of a
Thrawn.
tool for exposition. Like
Yeah.
she's a tool to like tell everybody about what's going on for Grogu. She's there to like tell Mando what's going on with this Beskar spear and why it's connected to this lady. And then the reveal, and this is the tease for her show, of course, she's looking for Thrawn. Here, she's about to go on that journey, but we still need to set up this character a little, so let's have there be a live action mention that she has a connection to Anakin Skywalker, which they did. Let's have her be aware of Luke's existence, and then let's show that she's going somewhere. And it may be dangerous because she may not see Luke again. It really, it all feels like setup to me. And I hope in her show it's a much better payoff than we got here. I'm pretty sure the next Star Wars show to come out is actually, it's Obi-Wan, right?
Yeah.
I know that Bad Batch is probably currently filming and stuff, because I'm pretty sure that second season
Don't think you know
comes
how
out this
animation
year.
works.
Well, that second season comes out this year, you know? They're probably working on it, is what I meant.
Yes, but not filming.
You know, the creative process.
Yes.
You know what I meant, you asshole.
Yes, I do. I'm being finicky because animation is my thing.
Well, I'm glad you were finicky because she didn't get shit to do in this show. Pun. God, I've been infected.
Oh, yes, she did. She had the break-in in the flashback. That was great. She had a very brutal murder spree at the end.
Yeah, no, I was surprised that they showed that fucking hammerhead guy's feet going.
Mock shays, yeah.
I was surprised
Hung
they
from the
showed.
ceyling and neck broken.
Well, they fucking showed his feet going limp, which to me
Yeah.
was like, Jesus. Like, you're really not sugarcoating it for the kiddos, are you?
Yeah. So, come on, give us more Fennec. This was the show to do it in.
It really,
Why have you not?
It really feels like these writers didn't know what to do with her. Like,
Yeah.
she has some good scenes. Honestly, I wish she would have been written more like Cara Dune in season 2 of Mandalorian, where Cara was kind of her own thing going down a path. Like, there were so many mentions of her past where it was like, oh, you're from Alderaan. Did you know somebody? I think it would have been really neat if we learned about Fennec's backstory a little in this show. Maybe she has a history of being betrayed, and that's why Boba's loyalty is so valuable to her. I don't know. That would have been neat questions to answer. But unfortunately, here we are 7 episodes later, and we don't know jack shit about her.
Here we are, a whole show later.
And we don't know jack shit. We don't know jack shit about her. She's cool still.
Yeah.
Love her actress.
I mean, and if that's what she's to be, if she's to be the strong, stoic, sort of badass character that you send in to go and do the dirty work, cool. Have that be her character. Don't have her be a blank slate that does that.
Yeah, she needs more depth. She needs more backstory. She needs more agency in what's happening around her. The fact that, like, oh God, it from a storytelling perspective, it doesn't make sense either, because, like, Boba, by all accounts, should want vengeance against the Pikes because they killed his Sand People family. But instead, it's her that takes out the leader of the Pikes, and that doesn't feel right to me. I get that she's, like, his agent, but I don't know, it just feels like, from a storytelling's perspective, there should have been more emotion in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guarantee you there was a version of the script which was like, Cad was the one who officially killed them. Because
I'm sure that was an idea on the table, 100%.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Honestly, I look back on it and it really sucks because there's so many good things about this show. This is my final thoughts. Do you have any more notes to go
Not
through?
really. I'm skimming through the timeline and I'm not seeing too much more to talk about.
There were some high highs, and there was some solid potential, but like it feels like right after episode 4 happened, the ball was dropped. And with episode 6, like I still think episode 5 is awful. But with episode 6, they picked
An
the
awful
ball back
episode of
up.
Boba Fett or an awful episode of Star Wars?
I honestly don't even think it's a great episode of Mandalorian. I think it's a pretty okay episode. I think it's a good episode of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily.
Good episode of Mandalorian in Boba Fett. Yeah.
Well, the reason I'm so much more critical on that episode now is because that is a whole episode's worth of time
Yeah.
you developed to a side character of this story that could have been focused on improving all of these criticisms we have in some way.
That's the thing. Those 2 episodes were basically just doing side character stuff.
The first episode was about Mando. The second episode was about Grogu. That really
It was about Mando and Grogu with a Cobb Vanth subplot.
Yeah, I would have kept the Cobb Vanth stuff.
Oh yeah,
Boba Fett.
that's the thing. You could have cut down. You could have done all that in one episode. I think those 2 episodes.
Mm.
You could have drastically trimmed the fat and done that. It's just one episode.
I think the problem with these 2 episodes,
which I wouldn't want. I still think the finale should have. I think we should have had one extra episode to deal with all the finale stuff.
I think
cutting down what we got.
I think my problem with those 2 episodes is kind of encapsulated by this. Those 2 episodes had great stuff in them. Episode 6, I gave an 11. It's going down as the highest thing I rated in the show. And those 2 episodes, great story, good story, really good. None of that helped further the plot of this episode. Except for the Cobb Vanth stuff, which you brought up. Except for the Cad Bane stuff. None of it was furthering the story of this show. Like, at all. So when we did finally get back into an episode of this show, it was frantic. Like, it didn't know what to do with itself because we had 2 random episodes of very little plot of the Book of Boba Fett story happening. And then you just have to finish out. And you also have to encapsulate those 2 episodes and give them fulfilling endings as well. Which I think they nailed that part of this episode. I thought the Grogu scenes were good. I thought the Mando scenes were good. But once again, the show's called Book of Boba Fett. And I have to judge it as that. So my final thoughts here are, I do want to say this, while I like the Rancor effects and seeing Baby Yoda cuddle Rancor will go down in history as one of the coolest things in television history, it will. I do.
Kneale will make sure of it.
I will kill people in order to serve this goal. I don't think they did enough. I had an expectation going in here. They didn't meet it, and they didn't give me anything that was so great that I threw away my expectations. So I'm gonna judge it how it was. I thought this episode kind of fumbled the ball. I thought it wasn't great in comparison to the first 4. I hesitate to even call it good, because the function of the final episode is to end this chapter of the story. Like, if this is season 1, chapter 1 of the story ends here, it doesn't feel like much was accomplished for me. It almost feels like I wasted my damn time, which really sucks, because I loved those first 4 episodes. If this is the episode where I come to punish the series as a whole, well, the final episode would be the one to do it, and I am giving this episode a 4. I think it was worse than average. I think it was bad. I legit think this episode was bad. Do I think it was awful? No. Once we hit 3, we get into Captain Marvel territory. But I didn't dislike the show still. There were some good things in it. This episode on its own, bad. It's just bad. And even if there's good things in it, even if there's a good show fighting to get out, the writing was not good enough. And I can pretend this doesn't hurt me all I want and try to be more critical of different elements. I almost said elephants.
Yes, you did.
If Cat is actually dead after you like got that makeup and you really made him look good and you really focused on his first debut, like he was the after credit big tease of this episode, and he by far is one of the most disappointing parts for me in it, and that really sucks because they nailed him. They nailed his look, they nailed his outfit, they nailed his portrayal. They fumbled the writing. I give it a 4, and that's my final rating on this episode of Book and Boba Fett. What do I recommend? Maybe stop watching after episode 4 and write yourself a fanfic. But do watch those scenes with Cobb Vanth, and still watch episode 6. Maybe write your fanfic there. Just skip episode 5, watch episode 6, write your fanfic. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, wow.
I feel like the Mando decisions pissed me off a lot more than they pissed you off.
Yeah, I think retroactively what they should have done with this entire... You could tell almost the exact same story with Boba and everything here. Except maybe the flashbacks would have been even more wonky if you'd done it under this framing. But just do more... And I think this is a band-aid over a bigger problem. I think this should have been Mandalorian Season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we do an arc with him. He spends the first few episodes, he's doing his own thing. He drops off the chainmail with Ahsoka. And then he comes to Tatooine and is with here. And we follow, via Mando, the Boba Fett story of this season.
So you would have done the same story, but for Mando's perception.
I wouldn't have, but I think that's the easy. Well, not even easy. That's a potential fix, I think. Because what does Boba ultimately want here? It doesn't matter. He's not the main character of the show.
I think mentally we are in a weird conundrum here, because while episodes 6 and 5 were not Book of Boba Fett, they were still good things, but they didn't contribute to the overall story.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to judge them on both fronts. Like, do you take the side of it's good because it's good, or it's bad because it didn't service the story? My answer is I was really liking episodes 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the shift really hit me hard. And when they shifted and the plot of the other episodes...
It was a hard pivot.
I just straight up think episodes 5 and 6 should have been a movie. I think there should have been a little more time devoted to them. And maybe the Boba Fett show is a prequel for this movie that's going to come out about the Mandalorian. Like, the movie should be about Mandalorian, but Boba Fett's in it. Maybe I would have preferred that. I think there is absolutely a way you can trim this up and salvage some of the great stuff you have here.
Yeah.
Judging by a whole, it didn't work for me.
Yeah. I think, final thoughts on this episode.
Just a sigh.
Yeah. A disappointed sigh. That's what it was. When I came into work the morning after seeing this episode, a colleague asked, in one word, to summarize the finale. And my word was, it was alright. Alright. And their word was disappointing. There were good bits. Ultimately, though, it disappointed them. And I think that sums up best. This episode was disappointing. There were bits I really liked. Again, so throughout there were all these little punches and scenes and moments I liked. But overall, this episode as a conclusion to the show did not work. It was disappointing.
Mm.
And I've looked back at my previous scores. And I think I can't, because it was meant to be a finale, I think it is probably the worst episode of this show. Agreed.
Mm.
I don't think I'd rate it lower than a 5. I think I'm going with a 6 here. And if Cad is dead, it drops to a 5.5.
Here's the thing. I think, like, did you like this episode? I guess that's what I'm trying to ask. Like, did you like it?
Emotionally, I enjoyed the viewing experience of this episode.
Yeah, see, this, for me, I'm like, I dislike this episode. Like, I look
There we
back
are.
at everything and I'm like, I don't like you. You're bad. Meanwhile,
I mean, on my screen right now, I've got, and I'm like, let me jump back and make sure. Yeah, when Pelly shows up on the rickshaw and everything, and you watch around YouTube people's reaction videos to this episode. When Pelly shows up, it's like, "Hey, Mando!" They're like, "Can you not hear the war going on? Can you not hear the droids?" And then the droid comes around and she's screaming, and they're throwing the hammer at the droid to make them go faster to run away. That was her response to this chaos. Here, Boba's riding the Rancor. It's eating people alive. Cad Bane struts round the corner, fearlessly snarls back at it, and flamethrowers the Rancor, which bucks Boba and runs off. There's your epic Cad Bane moment this episode.
I mean, that was cool.
He hears this thing roaring, ripping apart these droids.
And then
No hint of fear or nothing, just flamethrower this thing.
That's cool. I just wish it would have, like, it's a cool scene. But again, like, there's good things.
Boba Fett is riding a Rancor versus Cad Bane.
And then Cad Bane knocks him off.
This one image, it's the Cad bias. It is 100% the Cad bias. I'm sick with it.
I mean, I love that image too, but if we're following Cad bias, what is with
the
me?
The Cad-Rona virus.
I've been a little sick lately, so word-wise, I'm still a little weird. Cad-Rona, I don't like that at all. But if we're following the Cad bias to its completion, he died this episode, and now I'm biased that it sucks.
Yeah, and I'm biased and thus in denial. And also hopeful that he's not.
Here's the thing, Jack. And unfortunately, you and me have gone on an arc here too.
I was gonna say we have a bad track record with hoping characters aren't dead in this show.
I think he's dead. I thought he was dead before.
Like, the scene is fine. it's a good death scene for Cad Bane.
It's not good enough. It's not a great death scene. It's not Maul. It's not Maul.
Nothing is going to be Maul.
I think they could have done it again. I would say Iron Man snapping his fingers was Maul times 7.
I think with more build up because Cad's like, this is my final lesson and everything. It's like, again, this is the first time we're properly seeing you two interact. Come on. We touch-ups could have been done. But ultimately, I'm giving it a 6. I'm not gonna. It could have been so much better than it was on a story level, but the effects were phenomenal. The practical bucking Bronco Rancor they must have built for Tamir Morrison to ride on. Just that first shot of the hand, and then the hand and the head comes up, and it's Boba. The animation, the moments of it, because the Rancor grabs a guy, he reaches. There's a guy hiding behind a pillar. There's a pike hiding behind a pillar. The Rancor reaches through the pillar to grab him, to look at him, to hold him up for Boba to shoot him. Yeah. Sets going through the streets and everything look great. I did actually. I was curious who directed this episode, and of course it was Robert Rodriguez. I think it's a problem that I have with this show overall, actually, which is some of the practical effects are clearly a hindrance that they didn't know how to work around. It's a small nitpick here, but it's like the speeder chase with the Major Domo and the Vespas is a little too slow. That it's noticeably too slow. Doesn't take away from it, but it's slightly off. Here, the Chrysanthemum fight versus the Trandoshans was really awkward.
What?
I thought they just start dogpiling him at the end, and really slowly and carefully.
What I'm learning more about progressively as I review more shit is that the human brain and the human opinion is actually more interesting than we give it credit for, because we each have a limit of bullshit we are willing to take. Like, if you'll remember our review of Spider-Man No Way Home, we kept feeling bad about being critical of that movie. And there's a ton to be critical of. But it seems for the most part we kind of ignored the criticisms. Because while there are a lot, we were blown away with spectacle, we were blown away with what it set up in the MCU, and we were blown away with what it accomplished on its own. To the point where writing didn't matter. Here, I felt like in episode 6, they hit those highs where I was like, this isn't really a Boba Fett episode, but I'm okay with this. They just can't get there for me with this episode.
That's fair.
And they do so much wrong in this episode critically where I have to destroy it if they don't get to that point where I can ignore it.
That's fair. I think with me, again, I have to rate it above a 5 because fundamentally I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it the first time.
Again, if little things with those questions of is Cad dead, it's we moments. It's like, okay, depending on those, I'll fluctuate by like a 0.5 or so.
If Cad is canon dead, like I am currently treating my
yeah, your assumption is he is.
If Cad is not dead, I think I would only go up to 0.5 because I still fundamentally think this episode is bad. But if Cad isn't dead, I can forgive the writers, I guess. I can't really forgive the episode itself. Like, I won't think that's a stupid choice because you didn't make it.
Again, this amazing. We didn't really address it here. For the Major Domo going out to present Boba's negotiation.
He was the fucking bait for the trap, and he didn't even know it.
Yeah. And the arid sands of Tatooine will once again flourish with flowered fields, fertilized with the bodies of your dead.
Now that was that's kind of the thing I was getting into.
I can't rate this lower than a 5. It's getting a 6.
I mean, I think Boba was really good, and his character was pretty good. I just wish they would have done more. So, real fast, I just want to go through all the rankings just so people can see how truly bipolar this show was. What was episode 1? It had to be, like, low because we weren't sure of it yet, right? It had to be, like, a 6 or a 7.
Episode 1, you gave a 7, I gave a 7. That was 14 out of 20.
That's pretty good for a start. That's a pretty good start.
Yeah. Episode 2. Oh, wow, I jumped up. Wow. I went up to a 9, you went to an 8.5. Oh, yes, because this was the pikes and the train, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, this was the train. This was the gaffy stick. This was a good damn episode.
Episode 1 was 14 out of 20. Then we jump up to 17.5 out of 20.
Which, again, pretty damn strong start.
Then episode 3, 18 out of 20, 9 from each of us.
I mean, fair. That was a solid episode.
Episode 4, 9 from you, 9.5 from me.
Meaning an 18.5 in it. Meaning 1.5 away from a 20 out of 20. I want everyone to remember that.
Yep.
Now, episode 5, how did that one go?
Episode 5, a 6 from you, a 9.5 from me. That was 15.5.
That is a drastic drop still, though.
Drop of 3 points, yeah. Wait, am I bad at maths?
And then...
No, 3 points.
And then we show how bipolar we are, because episode 6, it goes back up. This is
I have
humorous.
a lot of notes on that. I have a lot of notes on this episode because one page is just Cad Bane hat.
Cad Bane.
Oh, yeah, then we have episode 6 with a 21 out of 20.
Yeah. That's
And then
where I
episode
was
7.
finally on board. That's where I came up.
21 out of 20 down to a 10 out of 20.
This has got to be the most drastic drop we've ever seen in between episodes.
It more than halved, yeah.
Arguably,
And again, I still enjoyed the episode. I don't think it was that bad, but it has fundamental, unignorable problems.
I think it is I think it's a stinker. I hated it. But
you know what? I so cannot wait for us to cover Black Widow versus Captain Marvel. Something we both passionately dislike.
Here's the thing, though. We both dislike it, but at the same time, it feels like we have to argue for the other one as well, because it's like, well, yeah, but mine's worse.
That's going to be such a fun video. So please subscribe to this channel, which, yeah, so stay tuned for when that happens.
Yeah, I'm ready to do that whenever. That could theoretically be next week, because now we move on to that loving time where we don't actually know what we're doing videos on next week. I know that I still want to do a video this Wednesday. I don't know what that is. What do you think?
I need to check my work rota and everything, figure out what I'm doing this week.
Well, the Disney schedule usually, like, supplies us, because literally right after fucking Hawkeye, this came out.
I've just had a thought.
We could go back. We could go to other things. We could do random things. We never really committed to that. There are things we can do.
Oh, how season 2 still isn't on UK Disney Plus. Come on.
God damn it! I haven't seen Owl House season 2 yet either.
Neither have I, because it's not on UK Disney Plus.
Is it on our Disney Plus? I've been rewatching Gravity Falls, so I feel like after I finish it, I'm gonna be like, I want more Alex Hirsch, and just walk over there. I've also been watching Disenchantment though, so this will be something.
I need to check out Disenchantment. There's a bunch of stuff we could do. We'll figure something out.
That is definitely possible, but chat, we need you to weigh in as well. What do you think we should do? Because there isn't necessarily anything releasing right now. However, I will say this. I'm doing something for Moon Knight. Jesus fucking Christ, I'm doing something for Moon Knight. Because, Jesus Christ, have you seen those trailers?
Yeah.
We're about to get fucked. And my friend has been such a big fan of this, it almost feels like if I didn't do it for this too, I'm the asshole. Especially because this is one of the friends who actually watches these videos. Hi, Skylar. But yeah, we just a little roadmap of shit we've always said we wanted to do, chat, but have never done. We've always said we were going to go back and rewatch some of the Marvel shows. Unintentionally, I didn't even realize I've done this, but I did do it. We have covered every single Marvel show on this channel, except for What If. So because of that, in my head, I'm like, God, I kind of want to go back and do What If just for completion. We have access to Marvel movies we haven't talked about. Shang-Chi is, of course, available. We didn't talk about that. And we could look back at older stuff. For example, I really wouldn't mind getting out of Marvel and Star Wars in general, looking at some Disney and Pixar stuff. I know Cher wanted to do an Encanto review, so you guys could theoretically get her back if you want that. Jack, do you have anything on Disney Plus where you're like, I need to watch I need to watch this and scream my opinion about it on the internet?
I generally need to watch it and then figure out if I want to scream my opinion or not. So I think.
Yeah, that's usually my boat
I'm
too.
still to see. Was it The King's Man? It's come out on Disney Plus. I haven't sat down to watch that yet.
The King's Man is going to be on Disney Plus.
Already is, or UK at least.
I didn't know that was Disney related. Oh, is it a Fox movie?
It's Fox. It's Fox, I think.
That makes sense. That adds up.
Yeah.
So
No, it's on Disney Plus now. I need to watch that. A bunch of other things.
I can't wait for everybody commenting us to like
Hitmonkey.
go review Harry Potter or something, and us just be like, it's
Oh,
not on Disney
I'd be
Plus.
totally up. I'd be totally up for that, but it's not Disney Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know what I would call. Well, yes, I do. I could just call it Potter Plus Pals, which would be easy. You know what, chat? Do you want Potter Plus Pals? I need to rewatch those fucking movies.
I'm totally down for Potter Plus Pals. Well, my Ravenclaw robes are in Bristol at the moment. I need to go collect those.
My fucking
Dispatch an owl.
I literally in my head was like, where the fuck is my Ravenclaw hoodie? Are we both Ravenclaws?
Heck yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. Fuck it, we might do the Harry Potter. I don't know.
Potter Plus Pals might be on the cards.
We just dropped Disney for a little bit.
We got a while to the next Marvel/Star Wars show.
Fucking Moon Knight's far away.
See if anyone else on the cast wants to join us for Potter Plus Pals.
Oh, that's another thing, chat. Do you want to see Doctor Strange 2 for a Plus Pals review? If it has as many cameos that are rumored, it won't be your choice anymore. We'll just do it. But I'd like to know if you're interested. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So we're ready to go into
more plugs.
We're ready to review it again. Let's start over.
Okay, right. Episode 1. What was my to bookend? What was my first note on this show?
I'm curious about that too, actually.
That Boba and Fennec's helmets were added to the opening logos.
Oh, yes, makes sense.
Yeah. Dreaming in a Bacta tank. That was my first actual note.
God, we haven't had a BAFTA tank flashback in 3 episodes. I never thought I'd miss them. I never.
What do you think, Kat? What's Cobb dreaming about right now?
I mean, probably he's
the Krayt
dark.
Dragon.
He does have a dark past he can dream about. Like his town got taken. He had to he had to steal from Jawas. He got shot by a
dreaming
blue
about the events
Satan.
of the book. Yeah. Aftermath.
Well, ladies, lasses, and I said ladies twice. You know what? Ladies and lasses, because we only have females who watch the show. Thank you so much to everyone who has watched. Thank you for sticking with us, because I know a few people have. There was a weird upload schedule for this. I apologize. But, yeah, I really liked reviewing this and hanging out with Jack and talking some Star Wars. So hopefully we'll be back this Wednesday with something new. We gotta end on a joke. What do we end on? I'm so depressed.
There's not much of a joke to be made out of this, but I'm gonna send you a picture in a moment because my Disney Plus feed at the minute is just Book of Boba Fett. Next row down, Star Wars movies and series, Book of Boba Fett. Action and adventure, Book of Boba Fett. Featuring bounty hunters, Book of Boba Fett. Disney Originals, Book of Boba Fett.
You know, I want you
New on Disney Plus, Book of the entire row is just Book of Boba Fett on my screen.
Here's the thing. I'm actually interested in this. Go down to featuring bounty hunters. If Tangled isn't in there, that's horse shit.
Book of Boba Fett, Under the Helmet, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Attack of the Clones, The Mandalorian, Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Clone Wars, The Bad Batch, Return of the Jedi, Faithful Wookiees. The story of the Faithful Wookiee. What? Oh, okay. It's the animated holiday special.
Technically, there's a bounty hunter in Hawkeye too.
Yeah,
Elena's a bounty hunter in that.
Get on this Disney Plus.
Motherfucker, why have the category if you're not gonna? That's basically just the Star Wars section.
Yes, it is. It's a condensed Star Wars section, a limited Star Wars section.
That is nuts to me. That is so
Oh,
dumb.
they have a coming soon. They have a coming soon bit now.
In the Bounty Hunter section?
No, it's not a separate section.
No,
Oh, the Valentine's Day bit. Oh.
Yes, the love
I'm glad
story that is
Princess and
Rise
the
of
Frog is
Skywalker.
at the top of Princess and the Frog is at the top of their Valentine's Day section. Good. Oh.
You know, we've never reviewed Disney Plus. Maybe we'll do that one day. Is it a good streaming platform? Does it have good shit? Maybe
I feel
one
that'd be
day.
a good April Fool's video.
Disney Plus
Disney,
Pals,
Disney Plus
Disney
Pals
Plus.
shit on Disney Plus.
Well, it would literally be Disney Plus Pals review Disney Plus.
Yeah. How dare you put Up as a Valentine's Day movie? You expect couples to get through the first 10 minutes of that? Come on.
Hey kids, happy Valentine's Day. Just to remember, one day, one of you's gonna die, and the other's gonna be alone. And that's your life. Up.
Here's our joke. Phantom of the Megaplex is still on my recommended.
Honestly, not a bad movie. Kind of fun. I think I gave that one a 6, which is more than this episode.